Ja, guten Morgen und willkommen zum Webinar Blockchain and the Future of Finance. Ich werde jetzt dann auf Englisch weiter moderieren, weil unsere Sprecher sind englischsprachig und auch ein Großteil der Audience und der Zuschauer sind englischsprachig. So, thank you very much for joining this webinar on blockchain and the future of finance in India. Good morning to the audience in Austria, and good afternoon to the ones who are joining us in India. So with that, let me roughly go through the webinar agenda, and please also I would like to ask the other two presenters to switch on the cameras to say a brief hello to the audience so that we can see your faces already now. Hello Mohit, hello.
Hello.
Joining. So first, I will give an overview of the Indian fintech sector and the blockchain sector. Then Mohit will be speaking from Crypsi. He is the director for technology. You can see here still a different name, but as some of you might know, the Indian market and the conditions here, there seems to have been some problems with the power. And that's why a colleague of him is joining us today. And he will actually demystify the blockchain for us, so it will be quite an interesting presentation. And then as a third agenda point, we have Ms. Shinam Arora. She is co-founder at Prime Chain Technologies, and she will mention some solutions for the banking industry and what blockchain can do on that front. And yeah, at the end we will have the Q&A session. And now let me just head into the or before we head into the topic, just a brief info about us, about our organization, or rather our offices in India. So the main office is in New Delhi. Then we have two regional offices, one for the southern market, one for the West Indian market, and we also actually are responsible for the neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan. So if you have any questions or inquiries for these countries, please also always feel free to get in touch with us. There are more than 700 Austrian companies who do regular business with India, and we have 153 Austrian subsidiaries here in India. They are scattered all over India, but roughly also southern region, western region with Mumbai, Maharashtra, and then Delhi capital region. From the Austrian point of view, India is the 26th largest export destination. And I also put two links here. One is for the WKOT website where you can always find the latest information, also Corona-related information, and where we also will put the slides of this webinar online, and on the YouTube channel you can watch this webinar and all the other webinars that we did in the past. So let's head now into the topic of blockchain. I mean, many people say that blockchain now is actually at the stage where the internet was in the 1990s. And when we look at venture capital, actually you can draw some parallels. I mean, until 2014 there were 1.4 billion US dollar invested from venture capital into blockchain technologies and into that sector, and until 2017 it was already 2.4 billion US dollar. And I mean, we all still remember back the 90s or the early 2000s and how the internet, or this internet of information, I would call it, transformed the societies, also sort of the political landscape or political way in many countries when you think about social media. And now with blockchain, actually there is this potential that this is a paradigm shift towards internet of trust and internet of value. So yeah, now heading back to India. as in most of these innovation and technology cases, Bangalore is leading the pack here, so to say, with 36% of all job postings when it comes to blockchain technology. Then this is closely followed by Mumbai and Hyderabad, and then you of course have also Pune and Chennai as further hubs. In 2019, NESCOM, which is an association for service and software companies and startups in India, issued a blockchain report, and according to this report, the blockchain industry will create actually 30,000 new jobs in India. There are already now 40 blockchain initiatives when it comes to the public sector, and it is estimated, or in that report it was estimated, that 65% of new businesses will actually apply blockchain by the end of 2020. I mean, since we have now this unforeseen event of Corona happening this year, it might take a little bit longer, but you kind of get the picture here. And then Niti Aayog, which is a think tank here in India, is actually setting out to build the country's largest blockchain network, which is the India chain. And what is their goal here? It is basically to reduce frauds, to speed up the enforcement of contracts and of transactions, and to increase also transparency of transactions. So transparency, efficiency, and reliability of transactions, that's actually the huge potential that can be seen in blockchain. And now also when we talk about the Securities and Exchange Board of India, the SEBI, they already established an advisory committee in order to conduct some research on a blockchain platform, and also the Indian Central Bank, I mean, it's called Reserve Bank of India. They have a research arm, this Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology, and they are also exploring the applicability of blockchain in the banking and financial services industry. And many players on the state level and on the national level in India have already shown huge interest actually when it comes to things like asset registration, customs duty payments, also property transfer, because as a mechanism to prevent also tampering of data, to remove duplicate data, and to reduce also counterfeits. This slide should just give you an overview that blockchain is not only, so to say, Bitcoin or a financial thing. It can actually play into many other sectors also. I mean, especially I want to mention here social media, where we have seen in the recent years, especially lots of trouble with privacy infringements, problems when it comes to information and content control. So there, blockchain can be a helping hand. Then also when it comes to the healthcare or health tech sector, blockchain enables the sharing across various players in this health sector, different hospitals or different health providers, and it can be further also seen as sharing information globally in order to avoid again any duplications, to ensure data security, to ensure data integrity, and to have, so to say, a more convenient experience actually for the clients of the healthcare sector, if you want to call it that way. But also in a sector like manufacturing, blockchain can have huge implications. For example, when it comes to licensed innovations, that you can shield it from theft via blockchain technology. And then of course, finance industry. Here we have, according again to this NESCOM report, we have when it comes to moving securities on the blockchain, there could be as an implication savings of 17 to 24 million dollars a year in global trade processing. And already now, here in India, blockchain technology is the backbone for the fintech and for the neobank industry. Actually, it's not anymore about exploration of this blockchain technology in India. It's already in the application phase. And now let's move to the next slide, which is on the fintech, more on the fintech side. So it is one of the fastest growing fintech markets in the world, India. And in March 2020, it has shown the highest fintech adoption rate out of all the emerging markets worldwide. The adoption rate is 87%, and the average adoption rate or adoption rate of many other markets was around 63%. So India is quite far ahead over there. And in Q1 of 2019, so already before Corona times, India has overtaken China as Asia's top destination for fintech funding. You can see here the numbers: 286 million US dollar versus 192 million US dollars. The Indian fintech sector is valued at 26 billion. That is still the 2019 figures from the report, but it's expected to reach 84 billion by 2025. And overall transaction volumes, annual transaction volumes are expected to move from 65 billion to actually 140 by 2023. What are the drivers for this increased adoption here in India? It is, on the one hand, the improved digital infrastructure that we are seeing here in India, and also the increased adoption rate of the internet. I mean, you have to understand, India is quite a huge country, and there is also a significant part of population living in rural areas and not in the mega cities, or also in tier 2 or tier 3 cities, which according to European standards is still huge cities in most cases. And also there now the adoption rate of internet is moving rapidly. And also I would say the demonetization push from the government has also accelerated a little bit this digitalization and development of fintech companies. And when you put all that together, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and big data, it becomes very powerful, and actually you can really move this personalized offerings and personalized servicing to a new level. And also the neobanks, so these digital-only banks, are actually, the main driver, or are actually expected to revolutionize the fintech market in India. So with that slide, apologies that it's a little bit smaller, but basically what I wanted to take away from that slide is actually that in the fintech industry there are 4 main categories. So the first one is the wealth tech industry, second one is digital payments industry, and here actually we had a webinar in December of last year on digital payments in India. Then lending, borrowing, that's one huge aspect, and then insurance. So the wealth tech industry is actually ever growing. I mean, since there is this sort of personal wealth is growing, and on the second part you have the increased adoption of mobile and digital channels, especially mobile channels. And what we see here is that you have now a reduced asymmetry of the asymmetry of information in the financial sector is now drastically reduced. So it does, in many cases, it does not make so much difference whether you are a large financial institution or whether you are a smaller financial service institution. Digital payments is actually the flag bearer of the Indian fintech space. Already in 2010, India introduced the first real-time payment system, IMPS. Then in 2016, the UPI, this unified payments interface, was introduced. And actually, alone for this digital payment sector, you have 375 startups that are exclusively in that sector. Yeah, when it comes to lending or consumer credit, we see actually two different target groups here. On the one hand, urban population. For them, it's actually a chance or an opportunity to use fintech in order to avoid this bureaucracy or a heavy paperwork, heavy documentation. So it's a much more customer friendly service. And in the rural population, what we see is for them actually borrowing money is rather a new thing, and they had to rely in the past on loan sharks, so to say. And here also with this new technology, for them it's a more safe way to borrow money. And then again, when we speak about insurance sector, also here 110 startups that are exclusively dealing with insurance and with the, so to say, innovative insurance concepts. And now let me just briefly talk about some key players and some events in India, or the major events. So we see again, Mumbai, Bangalore is actually the main hubs for fintech and for innovation, but also Hyderabad and New Delhi capital region are there. Then when we talk about major investors, some of you might know them all. So Alibaba, then Berkshire Hathaway, SoftBank, Temasek Holdings, Visa, PayPal, MasterCard. As regards the events, I mean, now with Corona, of course, many things have changed and will be changing also to this slide. So if you watch this presentation sometime later, it might not be anymore correct all the dates, or the format might have been shifted to digital format. So one large event is the FinTech India and Blockchain Summit taking place in New Delhi. It is set for March of next year. Then there is also this Indian FinTech Festival, which takes place in Mumbai, or was set to take place in Mumbai in March. However, it is now postponed to 2021, and there might be again, like I said, might be postponed again, or might be held as a digital event. And then there's Bengaluru FinTech Summit has been also already postponed to October. And since it's already in 2 weeks, I suppose it will be held as a digital event, or again also set at the later date. And now with that, I would like to ask the next speaker on the stage. Mr. Mohit, are you still with us? So yeah. You will be demystifying the blockchain, I think.
Yeah, I would try my level best.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, hello everyone. So we have been discussing about blockchain in various forums, various technological forums. It's always compared to cryptocurrency, and now we have seen a lot of enterprises adopting blockchain. So I will try to explain what is blockchain technology and try the enterprise part of it. I'll try to clarify a lot of information which or some clarity what people might have about blockchain. So let's start. Now, blockchain or database or any information related technology. So blockchain, in general sense, what it does is it adds data in a linear fashion. So basically, we have data always added. Whereas, for example, in database, we have this operations like insert, update, delete. Now, if you remove all the update and delete part, we can visualize a blockchain as a data structure where data is just getting added, and it keeps growing. And concept of cryptography are applied on it, so that every data what is getting added is somewhere related to the previous data. I will try to touch on how cryptography helps in that in the immutability part. But in normal sense, blockchain is the operation of adding data in linear fashions and usage of cryptography to hold them so that we are able to detect if there are some changes. Now, before getting into how blockchain solves the current enterprise problem, it's better to visualize like what are the problems happen without blockchain. Now, consider this scenario. We have different organizations talking among each other, be it purchase order, be it invoice. Now, in general, what happens is we communicate, right? And one organization is transferring information to another organization. We could send data via email, we could send data via wired communication or enterprise automation. But all enterprises are basically not centralized. Now, I would have got some information. I rely on that information and make some new information. So if I would have got a purchase order, I'll act on it. If someone gets something, they act on it. But interesting thing here is the order in which the events have happened or the order in which I have seen an event is important. So I will see certain event, act on it. Now this brings in the concept of reconciliation. For example, uh, two parties are having transactions, credit, debit, and multiple things. So at the end of the day, they need to reconcile. Okay, this was the order. Now my balance is same, your balance is same. And there are technical issues, right? Sometimes the data get misrepresented, not purposefully, but because of technical thing, the way things have been communicated, etc. So all these errors leads to disputes. There is always a question whether the data is accurate. Transparency is always there because two people would have shared some information, but the second person, what information he has shared to the third person may not be the right information which the first person said to the other. So all this relates to a lot of IT infrastructure where people spend a lot of time in reconciliation, validating the data, validating with multiple parties. So this leads to the problem statement, inconsistency, reconciliation, duplication. Now I will go into the next slide and try to explain how blockchain actually solves this. Now let's visualize this as a magical layer. Now we are able to see a bank and other organization. Now what is happening is the moment one of the organization or one of the participant performs a transaction could be writing a message or creating like sending some data packets. What blockchain technology does is that same data is available to everyone at the same point of time. Now, when I am operating on the data, I am operating on the data which everyone is having. So the chances that I am operating on something which doesn't exist or which have got updated is very less in blockchain. So people work on the latest data. They are always synced, though they are from different organizations. So that's the beauty of blockchain, that it enables multiple parties to work together. This entire blockchain acts like a single source of truth. So everyone is referring to it. Now we might think that it's like having a central database instead of each organization having their own database. It's not like that. So what data would be operated by organizations or the participants are only the data related to be shared. So that's how it makes the things automate. It increases the efficiency. Everyone is able to know the sequence of events which have led to a particular state of data. I understand that a lot of questions would be coming in our mind, but let's try to answer them in the Q&A section. There are a lot of type of blockchains, right? We all will know Bitcoin. We will probably know Bitcoin, Ethereum. Those who started the blockchain, like people came to know about cryptocurrency blockchain. On the enterprise side, we have multiple enterprise blockchain solution because in enterprise we require something which also suits the enterprise in terms of scalability, in terms of privacy, in terms of security. So Hyperledger is one of the first enterprise-grade blockchain, which was designed from the perspective of usage in enterprise domains, where enterprise could plug into the blockchain network, create the smart contracts, and have an enterprise level or organization level participation, democratization, so that it's not open to entire public, but the participants, like the organizations who are participating, they control how the blockchain would grow, who will join, who will able to see the data. So when it comes to blockchain, we know about transparency, but it's also important that privacy is also entertained. And unlike Bitcoin, many of us would have heard about the 51% problem, right? So if someone is having all the infrastructure, if he's able to get hold of that, how do we work? And to safeguard that, we need to have the mining problem. We have to solve the mining. We have to invest in infrastructure. But if we have to use a blockchain technology for its benefits in an enterprise, we cannot afford to have a lot of money actually get put to solve the mining problem just for the benefit of certain token. So we need a solution which provides the advantage of blockchain. It doesn't have the mining issues. It doesn't cost us so much, but still it provides scalability. It provides the enterprise advantages. So that's where Hyperledger is in. Cryptcore is our primary product, primary USP. It is domain agnostic, multiple cloud supported, and it helps enterprise to basically go through all the life cycle management and organizations life cycle management, what they have to address using the blockchain, from onboarding of a participant to onboarding of the smart contracts, uh, creating a collaboration, make changes, and live up to from, for example, POC pilot to production. So Crypto takes care of all that. Now, how do we do that? So we believe that any enterprise or any organization or any individual, when we talk about a business case, we are not 100% clear that how we are going to solve it or how it should be designed. So we need some iterative model. At the same time, we don't expect a developer to get into writing smart contracts. It's more about the business acumen. So Cryptcore Studio allows a mindset of a business analyst basically to break the problem into sequence of events and use the low-code platform to define the blockchain events and start transacting and make changes. So we don't need to code any smart contract. We just define business process. We use some custom rules, and our smart contracts are ready. We are able to transact. And in a week or let's say 2 to 3 weeks, we could make changes. We could come to a conclusion that we are leveraging on the blockchain's strengths, as well as we are able to get the benefit out of it. The third part you are able to see here is the data lake. So one of the challenge, or I would say the property of blockchain is it's in always bits and bytes. Coming from the DevOps world, we have this SQL, no SQL, right? We are able to create a lot of reports. We are able to do insert, update. We could use choice of our programming language, be it is Java, .NET, Python, etc. But how blockchain stores data is basically transaction hashes, transaction data packaged in blocks. So it's not easy that I could write my own semantics or query and get a data or write some data into it. But as an enterprise, I also need a strong visualization of data. I also need what happened to my transaction, where is it, because enterprise have to work in that way. So that's where Crypto data lake comes into picture. It provides you the minute detail in blockchain what happened, but in more business friendly manner. We are able to execute a lot of rich queries. We can generate reports. We can get to know the health of the network, which is also very important when we get into the deployment of blockchain application, especially in the enterprise. The last, basically, blockchain as a service uh, allows like organizations or anyone to start the journey in the blockchain. So first, you can choose the platform of your choice or the for example, cloud, whether it is Azure, it is AWS, and deploy your first blockchain network using crypto bars, uh, and then define your use case, and then slowly onboard other participants. As you add more participants, the network will keep growing and it will become more decentralized. But it allows you to start. The biggest problem is how a blockchain solution starts, because we will see in newspapers or in the news that some solutions have come, but there is always a problem that it's not easy for a lot of organizations or the enterprises to come together and start a solution. Someone have to take the head, like someone have to take the initiative, one or two parties. So they use script core bars, deploy the solution, and this solution allows other people to join and then grow the network. So we started 2016, and like Bajaj, you could see on the first, this was our first, we started with some insurance use cases. And today we have been working with multiple Indian companies, multiple MNCs, and we have done close to 80 to 100 POCs. Out of this, 4 to 5 are already in production. As we speak, we continue this engagement and continue to grow. So all the expertise or what is the learning what we had, it helps us in actually value discovery, because uh, when an organization comes to us or enterprise comes to us, blockchain is always in our mind, but what is the value, how blockchain would advantage them is also important. So we go ahead with this value discovery based on our experience and the principles of blockchain. We always try to get the best for the blockchain, best for the enterprise, and best for the business. These are the different types of clients and basically the engagements we have been working. Uh, for example, the tick mark where you are able to see, uh, these are actually in production. Others are basically in pilot stage, or they have been done, means their life cycle is done, but we have this solutions with us. So this is like anything to blockchain, any industry vertical, any use case, be it supply chain, be it is bill of lading, or trade finance, travel insurance. Most of the domains we have touched here. So in our journey, we got the association of multiple partners. Be it Microsoft, we are also part of the Hyperledger member. Microsoft, AWS. We started with multi-chain, so you are able to see multi-chain also here. And down you would be able to see the clients we have been working, we are currently working, or some of them recently started. So trade asset, what you're seeing here is it's a production application which allows multiple banks to transact their illiquid assets using blockchain technology. So, for example, a lot of financial institutes, they have their assets, illiquid assets. Currently, the communications happens over emails and other out-of-band communication. So this solution helps them to have the communication through blockchain. They are able to see what are the assets on offer, and they could securely use the chat mechanism within the application. So everything is recorded immutability in the blockchain, and they are able to reduce the time in transaction, and it have given a lot of advantage to the banks which are involved in this network. Now, I would like to explain that how organizations should make value out of blockchain. What is the reason people should move to blockchain? So one is definitely revenues, increase revenue. Then brand. So if a solution is backed by blockchain technology, it provides an implicit trust. People people see a lot of trust. Okay, this application is built on a trust foundation. The data would be transparent. Every party who is into this application network, whether it is a payment network or let's say health-based network, everything is transparent. So there is absolute transparency from where the inputs came, where the money is getting spent, etc. There are new business models which are emerging out because of blockchain, and like social obviously is there, but one of the very good advantage at the end is what you can see is compliance and governance. Now, when there is a multi-party transactions happening, we need to have a lot of audit, right? So from where we got this data, how much we have spent, what are the transaction charges. So the benefit of blockchain is whatever we do, we have no option. This data is always recorded immutability. Even if we want, we cannot change it. And if as a user, I have changed something in my network, it won't be possible for me to make modification to the other participants. So for example, as a bank or as an organization, for some reason, I have modified the data by logging into my blockchain peer, made some changes, and I'm trying to show that same thing to my auditor. So when they verify the hash, it will not work. When they go to the other organization, they would be able to see that there is a discrepancy, and it helps them audit. So it saves a lot of cost, not just for compliance and governments to check whether something have gone wrong, but as an organization, we have to spend a lot of money and effort in maintaining this compliance. So it reduces a lot, though there is an increase in, let's say, the infrastructure which one would have been using when they moved to blockchain. But over a period of time, the advantages of blockchain will outweigh what are the costs which gets added because of the infrastructure. So just to spend a little bit time here, that why us? Because our foundation has been always into uh, niche business domain. So we started. Uh, the same team was actually we started digital signature business. Then we started mobile wallet, which was also like how you would have heard about Paytm and the other wallets. So we also started a wallet business. We had a lot of patents in the mobile wallet side and cryptography side. So eventually, blockchain was a uh, good interest for us, and that's how the foundation of Cryptcore, our primary USP, that is there. So I think with this, I would end my presentation, and I would request like Sheena to take over. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, since it seems there is a technical problem with on her side, I will just try to quickly walk you through her presentation. So basically, what she outlined, or what Prime Chain Technologies outlined as the problem in the banking sector, are four things. So first of all, you have very old IT infrastructure. There are outdated IT systems. Then you need high maintenance, and there are also quite heavy support costs for that. And yeah, there is a lot of need for manual reconciliation. And you have this problem that many of the different systems, they don't really talk to each other. As I said, so you have many problem points here when it comes to traditional banking infrastructure. And the solution is actually their company, Prime Chain, which is sort of a very fast or easy to set up blockchain. And yeah, it is said that it's not very code intense, so it's very easy to install and to set up, and it's basically functional like a web application. So, And here you can see all of the so to say specific points that you can handle with this prime chain. So it's can be used for asset tokenization. Tokenization is also a huge topic in the blockchain sector. Then also for cross-sector use cases in education, defense sector, hospitality, pharmaceutical. Yeah, I mean also pharmaceutical health sector. It's very important to have this information sharing across various players in that field. Insurance, also logistics. There, blockchain is a very important topic. When it increases the transparency along the supply chain and along all the points in the logistics networks, but also, for example, in telecommunications. Yeah, so here we have a graph on the global blockchain technology market size. So you see, it's quite a significant industry, and this CAGR is compounded annual growth rate of 38.4%. So quite significant. And yeah, what is their target market? Banks, brokerages, also governments, building societies, clearinghouses. So we see actually it's not only, as I mentioned already before in my presentation, it's not only about finance. So blockchain can be applied to many different sectors in the industry. And yeah, bank chain, that's now what they call actually when you have sort of a group or a community of banks together that are exploring and building and then also implementing blockchain solutions. It was formed in 2017, and also the State Bank of India is part of this, and now it has already 37 members globally. Yeah, Pharma QR. This seems to be a special product of Prime Chain. It would be very interesting to learn more about that from Sheena. Maybe she will join us in the Q&A for that. Yeah, here I will leave it on for a few seconds. Then you can also try it out, and then you can see what's behind there. And yeah, just a brief overview of Prime Chain also. That yeah, what they're claiming is that they are one of the few startups in this blockchain space that are not only driven by this hype, because I mean with blockchain is a buzzword, and then Bitcoin is quite a huge hype, or has been a huge hype in 2017. So actually they're focused on the things where it can be applied and what makes actually sense to do with blockchain. And as we have seen before already, they operate this bank chain network, and they also have working relationships with Microsoft, Intel, IBM. So now let's just have a look at the two founders. So this is Rohaj Nagpal, he's one of the founders, and then we have Shinam Arora, who's another the second founder, and actually the intended speaker for today. I hope she will join us for the Q&A later. And yeah, now we are at the Q&A session, and thanks for asking or for writing the questions in the chat. You can still do so. So actually, a Q&A session is still open. Please feel free to ask us some questions. I will start with the first question, and I will also ask please, Mohit, if you can switch on the camera again. Yeah. So well, yeah. At least you have not left yet. Yeah, you're still here. Okay. Yeah. So let me direct this first question to you. How easy is it actually to start building up your own blockchain use cases, and I mean, using this CryptCore product that you mentioned, and I mean, how do you handle these adoption challenges? Now, from a business point of view, now from the industry side.
Yeah, so I would say there are two challenges which any organization or enterprises sees. One is how do we develop a blockchain solution, and second is how do we involve other organizations or other enterprises, because there is no point having an enterprise only owning the blockchain network. It makes sense if there are multiple parties, otherwise it's of no use. So the first thing what we do is using the low code platform, we don't expect each organization or each enterprise to have sets of developers for their own blockchain protocol, because different protocols requires different developers. So our installation comes, it creates everything for the sandbox model, and you just define your use case in a UI driven methodology, and it helps you test your business application directly from a business analyst mindset. You don't need to be at developer level. Obviously, once we mature, there are certain rules and scripting which can be done to enhance the use case. So this way, it's very easy for you to visualize how your business case looks like, how is the blockchain looking like, how is the explorer looking like, how my data looks like in blockchain. Secondly, once I am able to prove myself that I have created a business case, whether it is a letter of credit or anything like which I am trying to create a blockchain solution, then I can talk with another peer or another enterprise. Look, that you could join this network, and then we can do business using this network instead of doing the traditional way of working. Then using CryptCore bus or any Hyperledger thing, we are able to join the other participant to the network would grow, and they would be able to transact. So this way the journey is much easier than first having everyone to agree that we will be party to the blockchain, then develop and then iterate. So as members increase, they come to know that the smart contracts or the business rules needs to be reconfigured. So CryptCore allows that without deploying smart contracts again, you could make changes to the business rule. So we see that that is a much needed thing for enterprise adoption. Otherwise, it's a big challenge for them. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, in this on the slide where it was mentioning our journey, you also mentioned this German GIZ as a partner. What are you doing for them or for their institution?
Yeah, I have to recollect, because we have done a lot of this one, but I think that was for a insurance-based use case. But definitely, I can get back to you. I have to see what we have done. What was the engagement?
Okay. It would be just interesting to know, since it's also kind of a not strictly speaking a for-profit company, no, it's also more in the organizational sector, so to say.
So non-profit cases we have worked. For example, there is a Fairchain Foundation in your when a customer buys them, there is a unique QR code which is there on the sticker, like on the packet, and I could scan that QR code, and basically it will give me two options. I could use the token, or I could give that token back to the farmer who was using whose product this entire product was developed. So it is also helping the not-for-profit foundations to use blockchain technology to ensure money reaches to the right people, and people who want to contribute could contribute. Instead of getting into the middleman, it reaches the farmer. So there are multiple use cases in non-profit stuff also. We can obviously share you the detail.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And what are actually the sort of the deployment options that companies have with your product? I mean, is it also cloud agnostic, and how does it work?
Yeah, so everyone have not the same choice, so we have to support. So, but the primarily adopters are basically clouds. So we have a very good support in Azure and AWS, and we have a good tie-up with both these companies. They provide us support, and we have integrated very well with their Kubernetes clusters. Having said that, there are banks and there are other organizations who still wants things to be in on-premise. So we are supporting all types of deployment, whether it is on-premise data center or cloud.
Okay.
Because it depends on the customer basically.
Mm-hmm. And in what industry sector do you see the most prospects for blockchain adoption? I mean, is it finance, or are there some other sectors where you can make out huge use cases?
See, it's finance is always there. For example, trade finance or funding against the invoices. But now things are coming up into the pharma sector and provenance sector. So
Okay.
provenance is also very important because to track the supply chain from the origin and detect all the stake owners. So provenance is going to be the one of the major adopters. It may be with finance and it may be with payment, but provenance is a very important key aspect of blockchain. So you are able to understand uh, the origin of a particular material and how a complete material is created out of it. So it gives a complete transparency. So any duplications of things, everything get reduced.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have any experiences with blockchain when it comes to identity management or identity verification? Do you already have some use cases there?
Yes, yes. So what happens is there is a concept called I own my own identity. So
Mm-hmm.
there are regulations like GDPR in Europe, primarily in Europe. So uh, its identity is no more just a document which we have created initially, like my birth certificate, my passport. It's all about the trust score also. So we have worked on such solution where you provide your identity. Identity means the identity reference in the blockchain, because once you put identity in blockchain, it is immutable, so you might not remove it. But how people have attested, so I will say my name is Mohit, somebody will say, yeah, he is Mohit, he is working in Cripsy, somebody will attest it more. So this data gets immutability stored in blockchain, and at some point of time, if I want to prove my identity to some data owner, I can say I am this, and they could see, okay, this many people have attested. So it makes, so it's called a trusted identity mechanism. So blockchain is more used for trust scoring of identity. So we have done multiple use cases which are protecting people's identity using blockchain and the trust score, and also
Yeah.
GDPR compliance basically.
Okay.
So
And since
self-sovereign
yeah.
identity basically. It's
Okay.
called
Okay. Perfect.
self-sovereign identity.
Yeah. Yeah. And since you mentioned trust and trust score, I mean, do you actually see blockchain as having this potential of transforming our societies like the internet did 20, 30 years ago? Speaking of, like, now we have internet of trust, and before it was internet of information. Or do you see blockchain as a just a tool next to artificial intelligence, data science, or big data? What is your opinion on that?
So like how internet provides you the data, but you have the application taking advantage of it. So similar thing applies for blockchain. So blockchain by its property will always be a backend application. Your
Mhm.
artificial intelligence or your supply chain or even your day-to-day applications, they will use the benefit of blockchain. So it is going to be something which will run parallel to internet technology. It will give you that trust. It will your data, what you are getting, your applications are getting, they'll be ensured that the data is trustworthy, and it is coming from the right person, and the data, what it claims to be, it have gone through that life cycle. But blockchain by itself is not a solution. We have to design solution on top of it.
Okay, okay, interesting. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you would consider blockchain, so to say, as the base layer, and on top of that, you have to sort of develop the application or the app or the solution for the customers.
Yes, yes. So we have to develop, we have to integrate. So user would see the normal application. If a bank is using blockchain technology, the customers would still use the banking interface. So blockchain will not have an interface. They might not even know that it is backed by blockchain, but they would trust the bank more because it is using the blockchain technology. So there are a lot of
Okay.
integration. So we need to integrate with a lot of backend systems and provide that agility to enterprises.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, coming back to Cryptcore or to your product, since most of the enterprise and businesses, the requirements are very dynamic actually and shifting all the time. So how can your platform manage these changes?
Yeah, so the benefit of using Cryptcore is the fundamental, what we believe is the iterative model of development. So once we choose to use Cryptcore, we could make changes without actually changing the source code of the smart contract. So if I have written some business flow, I want to add some new flows, I want to add some new validations, because people would discover their requirement when they are testing the application list. Now in general DevOps, you have to redeploy and retest, you have to make all the integrations again. But whereas in Cryptcore, we are able to make changes using a workflow UI driven mechanism, so that it's very easy. So if a new process have come into your business, or you want to add that one more field into your invoice, you don't need to get into the code level. With just the business process mapping tool what we have enabled with the blockchain, we are able to make those changes. So it makes things pretty easy to test and iterate basically, without getting into the developing the developer logics.
Okay, okay, perfect. And one question, since many people in the blockchain industry, or rather coming from this cryptocurrency space, they usually argue that enterprise solutions like Hyperledger, for example, that these are like the intranet used to be back in the day. So every company was building their own intranet, but then in the end it was the internet who was succeeding. Uh, would you draw similar conclusions here when it comes to blockchain, that in the end there will be a sort of one public blockchain protocol? I mean, it doesn't need to be Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum or something like this, or it will be customized enterprise blockchains for specific industries?
It would be customized blockchain applications for specific industries. The reason
Yeah.
is there are requirements by people, by enterprises for data privacy, data integrity. So if 5 enterprises are working on a business model, the data is not supposed to be available to the entire world, but whatever transactions happen between them, each one of them should know. So transparency is between them. Whereas if we go into the world of public blockchain like Bitcoin, all your data would be visible. Plus, mathematically, it's possible that someone could take control of your data, though because of the cryptocurrency valuation and mining, it is tough, but theoretically it is possible. Whereas if you deploy a Hyperledger based application, the enterprises are sure that the majority of the enterprises are the governing council of the network, not anyone else could come, and the
Okay.
data model and all that is in their control. However, the data is still protected. Every blocks are joined using the hashes. There is a digital signature. There is an identity. Only identity between of their organization should be able to participate, not anyone else. So it's controlled environment.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And would you say that this recent growth in fintech and blockchain sectors, I mean, in India or globally, that it's a sustainable growth, or do you think it has to come down at some point?
See, fintech sector, we have seen a lot of huge potential growth in the space of mobile wallets
Yeah.
and something similar. But obviously, they will need to stabilize, because you would sense that a lot of funding have gone into those applications. But now, especially in this pandemic, we are able to see users adopting to contactless mobile applications, right? So you will have to come to a baseline and come to the natural strength. So it will increase, but obviously from the hype there will be certain it will come. But people are assured that this technology will continue. Mobile wallets will continue. Blockchain would continue, and now it's getting used by more people. Now, initially it was the young people or the tech savvy people. Now everyone is using mobile wallet. Similarly, blockchains are getting used by more and more organizations. It is not just the financial sector or the cryptocurrency sector. Now, for various use cases, whether it is pharma or whether it is supply chain, blockchain is getting used, and it is not just POC. So when we started, things were at POC level. Now people have started using it for actually practical purposes.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I don't see any further question at this point. So I would yeah, like to thank you very much, and I would give you another opportunity also to say goodbye to the audience.
Thank you everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for joining, and I will just move on with one slide mentioning some future webinars that we are organizing. So already on 20th of October, we will have a webinar on intercultural management in India. This is actually set out to bring together Indian businessmen or yeah, expats or Indians at Austrian subsidiaries here in India, and then the Austrian counterparts. Then in December, we will have another webinar on the IT industry. What are some trends and what are offshoring opportunities here in India? Then in January, I mean, provided of course also the global pandemic situation and all these travel restrictions permit this event, we will have a journey to the future of finance in India, so which is a sort of a follow-up event of today's webinar, and we will go to Mumbai and to Delhi. And in March, again, provided the situation allows, we will have an sort of India Innovation Challenge landing zone, which is more targeted towards Austrian startups. And there we will travel to Bangalore and to Hyderabad. And yeah, with that, let me thank you very much for joining today's webinar. You can, of course, always get in touch with us if you should have some further questions on this topic or on any other topic related to the Indian market or regarding the other markets, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka. And with that, yeah, let me wish you a nice afternoon. I believe it's already afternoon for you also, and I hope to see you at the next webinar again.